We, after all these years of keeping Yahweh's calendar, I've been doing it since 1997, still observe our holy days from evening to evening. There are a lot of people in the Torah community that observe from morning to morning or from morning to evening, even in the Lunar Sabbatarian community. Nothing holds me back from doing that. I basically work for myself. I just don't believe that it's correct. I base it off of what I call the didactic text in Scripture. In Scripture, you have texts that are specifically about commanding you or teaching you how to observe certain things. Then you have something called narrative texts which are telling you about a story, not necessarily giving a command from Yahweh. My friends who often go with morning to morning or morning to evening, they lay a lot of weight on the narrative texts in Scripture. I don't think that's wise. I think they've got things mixed up. So there is never a command in the Torah telling you to keep a Sabbath or holy day from morning to evening or from morning to morning. It doesn't exist. What we do have are two explicit texts that tell us to keep holy days from evening to evening. The first is in Exodus chapter 12, verse 18, where we're told about the Feast of Unleavened Bread from the 14th day at even to the 21st day at even. That's 7 days of unleavened bread, and each of those days begin at even, which means each of those days end at even. Then we have Leviticus 23:32, which specifically is about Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. From evening to evening shall you celebrate or observe your Sabbath, at least in a lot of English translations. The word for Sabbath there seems to be in the plural in the Septuagint and the Aramaic, and possibly even there in the Hebrew. The text is specifically about the Day of Atonement, but the addendum is not telling you just keep atonement this way. He's commanding you keep it from the ninth day at even, because from evening to evening shall you celebrate your Sabbaths, plural. There is an example of this that is talking about the weekly Shabbat in Nehemiah 13:19. And a lot of people get mixed up because of the way it's translated, like in the KJV, where it says, as the gates of Jerusalem begin to be dark before the Sabbath. Some Sabbatarians think this means that the Sabbath doesn't begin till complete darkness. If you look at the text carefully, first of all, it doesn't say as the sky began to get dark before the Sabbath. It says as the gates begin to get. And then we have to look at the Hebrew, which is salal or salel, for a shadow to cast. You kind of see a shadow on my face right here from my hand. When the sun has gone down to a certain degree and is casting long shadows, and those shadows are going across the entranceway or the gates of Jerusalem. The gates were commanded to be shut before the sun ever went down. Just look at this verse in a few different English translations. Some of them get it right, like the NET, HCSB, and NIV.